Today's lesson is on leadership. To understand what leadership is, we must first understand why leadership exists. To answer this question, we must look to nature. As a way to improve their probability of survival, some species have developed sociality, or the formation of cooperative societies. These are of course not conscious decisions, but rather they have developed to meet the environmental demands of evolution, and in these species being social or grouped has increased its probability of survival, and hence this trait has prevailed. For humans, this is no different. A simple way of looking at sociality as a mechanism of survival for humans is as hunter-gatherers. Those ape-like proto-human ancestors of ours who formed social groups had a higher probability of survival than those who did not, be it because of an increase in security that a group can provide, because hunting in groups and sharing resources increases the likelihood of a meal, or because access to potential mates is more abundant. Regardless of the reason, development of sociality indicates that it was a successful trait and ultimately became the sole state of existence for Homo sapiens. So much so that humans have become singularly reliant on the group for survival. Whilst individual cases of lone survival exist, human existence is a social one, where the probability of individual survival is directly linked to the existence and survival of the group. So, humans rely on the social group for survival, but species survival is characterized by two criteria: individual survival, the continued existence of the organism, and reproduction, the passing of one's genes on to the next generation. The first of these characteristics, individual survival, is greatly improved through sociality. However, as members of a social group are competing inside the group for the same mates for reproduction and resources for survival, this competition threatens the stability and cohesion of the group, and thus the existence of the group on which the individuals rely on to survive. This duality, that members of the group both need the group whilst also competing within the group for survival, led to the co-development of complex social behaviours. Social behaviours are the byproduct of balancing these competing needs of the individuals and the group to improve the preservation of the group, and thus the highest probability of success as a species. These competing individual and social needs create a highly complex and dynamic state for the group, where power is constantly exchanged between individuals and groups during social interactions, known as power relations. These power relations are a mechanism for maintaining social order whilst affording in-group competition in a non-lethal manner to preserve the sanctity of the group. These exchanges of power are codified in both written and unwritten rules and laws, culture and religion, instincts and learned behaviours. Power between individuals and groups can be exchanged both consciously and unconsciously. Where power is exchanged consciously, this is generally as part of an agreed norm or social practice. Examples of this include in militaries, where members agree to submit to a rank hierarchy; in a political democracy, where individuals vote and those of the losing side submit to those elected; in businesses, where employees submit to employers to ensure that they are paid; or in criminal gangs, where members submit out of threat of reprisal. Power can also be submitted through unconscious exchanges, where individuals are naturally drawn towards someone by personal characteristics they view as desirable for group cohesion and individual survival. These may include, but are certainly not limited to, traits such as intelligence, charisma, creativity, empathy, coordination, confidence, and vision. In these circumstances, the individuals submitting their power may not realise they are even doing so, instead being drawn to personality traits that indicate a likelihood of success. So, members in a group submit, both consciously or unconsciously, some of their personal power to other individuals so that those individuals can make decisions on behalf of the group for the group. Those individuals with whom power is vested, we call leaders, and their responsibility, the execution of collective power for the benefit of the group, we call leadership. Leadership is a tool of stability against the chaotic interactions of sociality, to ensure the continued survival and success of the group, and therefore benefit its members who have foregone some of their power to enable it. The way in which leaders execute the power that is vested in them is commonly referred to as leadership style. Some leaders rely heavily on the conscious exchange of power, leaning on structures and institutions for their source of power, whilst others prefer the unconscious exchange of power, leveraging the strength of their personality to obtain their goals. Some leaders are authoritarian, demanding compliance to their will, whilst others are egalitarian, seeking to use as little vested power as possible. But most are a combination of these, developed into their own style that supports their strengths, or lack of, and desires, and may change depending on the situation. So, now that you understand what leadership is, you must ask yourself, when you are placed in a position where others vest their power in you, what sort of leader do you want to be?